I am suing you, Julia. I am suing this hellhole for discrimination. My sister Ashley screamed those words while standing over a man bleeding on the floor of my bistro. Her dog, Tank, was straining at the end of a thick leather leash, wearing a bright yellow vest that said service animal in peeling letters. Just seconds ago, that dog had lunged at Mr. Sterling, my most loyal customer, and sank its teeth into his arm. But Ashley was not looking at the blood soaking through his white shirt. She was looking right at me. You scared him. He is doing a job. That man waved his hand at Tank. He assaulted a working dog. You owe me for this trauma. The entire restaurant went silent. I looked at the cheap vest she had ordered online. I looked at the dog that had no business being in a dining room. And I looked at my sister, who was checking her reflection in the window, while a man bled because of her negligence. I did not yell back. I did not argue. I just turned off my emotions, nodded once, and walked into the back office. The silence was not fear. It was calculation. I closed the heavy steel door of my office, cutting off the noise of the sirens wailing outside. The room smelled of sanitizer and old receipts, but it was the only place I felt safe. I sat in my chair, staring at the blank security monitors. You have to understand, this was not just about a dog bite. This was the latest escalation in a lifetime of taking. My sister had never paid a bill she could not pass on to someone else. She called herself a lifestyle influencer, but her real full-time job was being a professional victim. For years, I was her safety net. I paid her rent. I fixed her car. I even paid for the Amazon Prime account she used to order that fake service vest. That detail stuck in my throat like a fishbone. She was using my own money to scam me. My mother always called it supporting family. She would say, Ashley feels things more deeply than the rest of us, Julia. Be gentle. I learned early on that being gentle with Ashley meant letting her walk all over me. While I worked double shifts to save for this bistro, Ashley was taking mental health sabbaticals on our parents' credit cards. I looked over at the corner of the office. In the chaos, Ashley had left her designer handbag on my chair. Sticking out of the side pocket was a crumpled white envelope stamped with red letters. Final notice. I shouldn't have touched it. But privacy felt like a luxury we could no longer afford. I pulled the letter out. It was from a predatory lending agency. Ashley owed $42,000. The letter threatened immediate asset seizure if she did not make a lump sum payment by the end of the month. The pieces clicked together with terrifying precision. The desperation in her eyes. The theatrical screaming. Ashley was drowning in debt. She needed a payout. Fast. She looked at my bistro and saw a piggy bank she could smash open. I folded the letter and put it back. My sadness evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. She wanted a war? She was going to get one. But I wasn't going to fight with screaming matches. I was going to fight with receipts. I opened a new folder on my desktop named Project Truth and started typing. The police officer took my statement with a look of exhausted pity. There was nothing he could do about the drama. Ashley was already gone, having demanded an ambulance for severe emotional shock. I watched the paramedics load her in, checking her vitals with the patience reserved for toddlers. She wasn't hurt. She was rehearsing. I sat in the empty dining room, the smell of bleach heavy in the air. Then, my phone lit up. A notification. Ashley Vance is live. I clicked the link. Ashley's face filled the screen, bathed in the harsh light of the ambulance. She was wrapped in a thermal blanket. Mascara artfully smeared. Guys, I cannot breathe, she whispered into the camera. My own sister. She runs the Golden Oak. She let a man attack Tank. She stood there and watched while a stranger assaulted my service animal. I am having a panic attack. Please. Do not support businesses that hate the disabled. The comments flew up the screen faster than I could read them. Heart emojis. Angry faces. People calling for my head. She was rewriting reality in real time. And 50,000 people were believing her. Then came the sound that actually hurt. The ping of a new review. Then 3 more. I opened my business page. The rating I had spent 3 years building was free-falling. 1 star. Ableist trash. 1 star. Boycott this place. 1 star. I hope you go out of business. My work line rang. It was Mr. Russo, my landlord. He never called on Sundays. Julia. I just saw the video, he said, his voice hard. And the police report. The lease has a strict clause about violence. If that dog comes back, or if this circus continues, I am terminating your lease. You have 48 hours. I hung up. Ashley was actively nuking my livelihood to cover her own negligence. She was willing to starve me to feed her victim complex. I looked down at the crumpled debt notice. She needed money, and she had decided I was the target. I didn't feel like a sister anymore. I felt like a general looking at a battlefield. I opened my laptop. Most people think catching a liar requires complex skills. It usually just requires knowing who pays the bills. Ashley had one fatal flaw. She was cheap. For 5 years, she had been logged into my Amazon Prime account because she refused to pay for her own. I clicked on the order history. At first, nothing appeared. My heart hammered. Had she bought it elsewhere? Then I remembered who I was dealing with. Ashley wasn't smart, but she was sneaky. I clicked on a tab most people ignore. Archived orders. There it was. The receipt loaded on the screen. Dated 4 days ago. Premium service dog vest, plus ID card bundle. $19.99. It sat there in black and white. But Ashley hadn't just bought the lie. She had bragged about it. Right under the product listing was a verified review from user Ash Vance Official. 5 stars. The comment read, "Best hack ever. Now I can take Tank into restaurants and nobody dares to say anything, LOL." She had left a digital fingerprint on the weapon she used to assault my business. I took a screenshot. But receipts were just paper. I needed to understand the blast radius of what she had done. I walked up the back stairs to the second-floor apartment where Mr. Henderson lived. He was a blind Vietnam veteran and the moral compass of our building. I knocked softly. "Come in, Julia," he rasped. The living room was dark. Mr. Henderson sat in his armchair, hand resting on the head of Major, his golden retriever guide dog. Major was usually a rock, but today he was trembling, tucked under the chair. "Is he okay?" I asked. "He won't eat," Mr. Henderson said, his voice thick with sadness. He heard the aggression downstairs. "He thinks he failed to protect me, Julia. He is afraid to go downstairs now." I stroked Major's fur. This wasn't just a scam. Ashley had violated the sanctity of a tool that kept a man independent. She had worn a costume that mocked the discipline of real service animals. I went back downstairs and opened the security camera software. I skipped to 11:32 a.m. and slowed the footage down. At normal speed, it looked like an accident. In slow motion, the truth was undeniable. I watched Ashley on the screen. She saw Mr. Sterling raise his fork. She looked down at Tank. And then, her right foot moved. It was a sharp, calculated motion. She kicked her own dog in the ribs. Tank didn't attack because he was vicious. He attacked because he was in pain. I saved the clip. I had the motive, the weapon, and the crime on tape. Now, I just needed her to walk into the trap. On Tuesday morning, Ashley walked into the closed bistro. She wasn't wearing her victim costume. She wore a crisp white blazer, looking like a CEO. She walked to the counter and slid a single sheet of paper across the wood. "It is a settlement offer," she said smoothly. "Sign it, pay the amount, and I will sign a non-disclosure agreement. I will tell my followers it was a misunderstanding. The lawsuit goes away." I looked at the document. The number at the bottom was bold, $150,000. It was the exact amount she needed to pay off her shark loan, with enough left over for a luxury condo. It wasn't a settlement. It was a ransom note. "I do not have $150,000. Ash," I said quietly. "That is everything the business has." Ashley sighed, examining her manicure. "Dad says you should do it. It is better to pay to keep the peace. Besides, I am doing you a favor. If we go to court, I will ask for $3 million. She truly believed she had won. She thought I was weak. She didn't know I had spent the last 24 hours on the phone with Agent Miller, an insurance fraud investigator. He had told me that for a fraud charge to stick, she had to either physically accept the money or publicly state the lie in a transactional setting. We needed a stage. I let my shoulders slump. "You win," I whispered. "I cannot afford a legal battle. I will pay it." Ashley's eyes lit up. "Good choice, Jules. Wire it by noon." "No," I said. "Not a wire. If I am going to lose everything, I want to control the narrative. I want to host a brunch this Sunday. A public apology. I will hand you the cashier's check in front of everyone. Invite your followers. I want the world to know I am sorry." Ashley hesitated, but her narcissism won out. She wanted the footage of me bowing down. "Fine," she said, smiling cruelly. "Sunday at 10. Make sure the lighting is good." She walked out, heels clicking. As soon as her car pulled away, I dialed Agent Miller. "She took the bait," I said. "Be here on Sunday. And bring handcuffs." Sunday morning arrived with aggressive sunshine. The bistro was packed with Ashley's support network bloggers, hungover friends, and a freelance reporter. Ashley stood at the front, wearing white, holding a microphone. Tank lay sedated at her feet. "Thank you all for being here." She trembled. "This has been the hardest week of my life. Being attacked, being silenced. It changes a person." I stood by the kitchen door, hands folded behind my back, gripping a small remote control. I have decided to forgive my sister, Ashley continued. This settlement, this $150,000, is not about money. It is about justice. She paused for applause. Actually, Ashley, I said, cutting through the noise, I do have a payment for you. But before I hand it over, we should talk about justice. Justice usually involves the victim, doesn't it? So, I thought we should ask him. I pointed to the back. The heavy oak door swung open. Mr. Sterling walked in, flanked by a man in a gray suit. His arm was in a heavy cast. The room went quiet. Ashley's face drained of color. What is he doing here? It is a public apology, remember? I said. Here is the man your dog shredded. Tell him about your trauma, Ashley. She opened her mouth, but no words came. The narrative was cracking. But I wasn't done. I raised the remote. I do have something for you, Ash. It is not a check. It is a reality check. I pressed the button. The 3 digital menu boards behind the counter flickered. The coffee prices vanished, replaced by 3 high-definition images. The room gasped. On the left screen was the Amazon receipt, blown up huge. Fake service dog vest, plus ID card. $19.99. Below it, her review. Best hack ever. Now I can take Tank into restaurants and nobody dares to say anything. LOL. On the center screen was the security footage, playing in slow motion. Ashley's foot lashing out. The vicious kick to Tank's ribs. The dog lunging in pain. On the right screen was her live stream from months ago. Ashley laughing, holding wine. I just tell them I have anxiety and they panic. It is basically a free pass to do whatever I want. The silence was absolute. The only sound was the whir of the refrigerator and Ashley's ragged breathing. The reporter stood up, recording the screens. Ashley's friends backed away. You thought victim was a job title, Ashley, I said coldly. You thought disability was a magic word that would shut everyone up. But you forgot one thing. Real victims do not archive their lies. Real victims do not kick their dogs. It is a deep fake, she shrieked. She doctored it. Then the man in the front row stood up. He pulled a badge from his pocket. It is real enough for us. Miss Vance, he said. I am Investigator Miller with the State Insurance Fraud Division. You filed a claim for $150,000 based on false pretenses. By asserting these claims here today, you have committed insurance fraud in the 3rd degree. That is a felony. He signaled the back door. 2 uniformed officers stepped inside with handcuffs ready. This isn't real, Ashley whispered. Julia, tell them. I looked at the woman who had bled me dry for years. I felt the last tether of obligation snap. I turned to Agent Miller. She is all yours. The sound of handcuffs ratcheting tight cut through the room. Ashley stopped screaming about deep fakes the moment the metal touched her wrists. As the officers guided her out, she twisted around, eyes locking onto mine with terrified desperation. Julia, I am your sister. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. The room waited. My parents would have told me to fix it. But I looked at Mr. Sterling holding his injured arm. I looked at Mr. Henderson safe in the hallway. I do not have a sister, I said, my voice steady. I have a liability. And I just canceled my policy. I turned my back on her. I didn't watch her get put in the squad car. I walked to the counter and turned off the screens. The fallout was swift. We did not settle. 6 months later, Ashley pled guilty to felony insurance fraud and assault. She was sentenced to 3 years in state prison and ordered to pay restitution. Mr. Sterling sued her into bankruptcy. Her social media empire vanished overnight. Tank was surrendered to a rehabilitation sanctuary. I get updates sometimes. He runs in a field now, wearing no vest, finally just a dog. 3 months ago, a letter arrived from the correctional facility. It was heavy. I knew it would be pages of justification and demands for money. I didn't open it. I dropped it into the recycling bin and went back to work. That was the true victory, not anger, but indifference. The Golden Oak Bistro is different now. I put a new sign in the window. Service dogs welcome. Fakes go to jail. We have become a local landmark for integrity. Mr. Henderson and Major come down for coffee every morning. Major lies under the table, perfectly calm, knowing this is a safe space because I made it one. I finally bought my own house last month. It has a big kitchen and a security system I paid for myself. When I unlock the door, I don't worry about demands. I just hear the quiet. Blood does not make you family. Loyalty does. Respect does. You are allowed to walk away from people who hurt you, even if you share a last name. You are allowed to protect your peace, your business, and your sanity. Trust is earned, not owed. And once it is broken, you are under no obligation to buy it back. I am Julia. I am a business owner. I am a homeowner. And for the first time in my life, I am free. Have you ever had to watch a toxic family member destroy themselves with their own lies? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are asking, why did Julia let it get this bad? Why did she pay for the Prime account for 5 years? Why did she wait until there was blood on the floor to finally cut the cord? It is frustrating to watch, right? But before you judge her, let's break down the psychology that kept her trapped. Because it happens to the smartest people I know. Let's decode the why. Julia was not stupid, and she was not weak. She was stuck in a psychological trap called intermittent reinforcement. Think of it like the slot machine effect. If a slot machine took your money every single time, you would walk away after 5 minutes. But it doesn't. It takes your money 50 times. And then, it gives you a tiny win. Just enough lights and noise to make you think, maybe the big one is coming next. Toxic family members operate the exact same way. They treat you like garbage for months, that is the losing streak. But then, they give you one crumb, a thank you, a moment of peace, a heart emoji and a text message. That one crumb releases dopamine in your brain. It keeps you sitting at the machine, feeding it your time and money, hoping for a jackpot of love that never comes. Julia finally realized that the machine was rigged. She didn't just walk away. She unplugged it from the wall. Now, let's talk about the how. Julia survived this because she stopped thinking like a sister and started thinking like a forensic accountant. She used 3 specific strategies that you can use in your own life. First, the audit strategy. Notice how Ashley got caught? It wasn't because of a master plan. It was because she was lazy and cheap. Scammers hate details. They hate paper trails. Julia stopped listening to the emotional noise and looked at the data, the Amazon history. If your gut tells you something is wrong in a relationship or a business deal, stop arguing and start auditing. Check the logs. Check the bank statements. The truth is always in the math. Second, the golden bridge trap. When Ashley demanded $150,000, Julia didn't scream. No. She said, "Come and get it." This is a classic negotiation tactic. She gave her enemy exactly what she wanted, a platform and a payout, but she ensured there were witnesses. In the legal world, we call this giving them enough rope. Never interrupt your enemy when they are in the middle of documenting their own crime. Finally, the liability assessment. Julia's final line was the most powerful lesson of all. I don't have a sister. I have a liability. In finance, a liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. An asset puts money in your pocket. You have to audit your relationships the same way. You cannot budget your way out of a toxic connection. You cannot negotiate with emotional terrorists. The smartest investment Julia ever made wasn't the espresso machine or the bistro. It was the moment she liquidated her position with her sister. Know your worth. Check your receipts, and protect your peace. If you learned something valuable from this breakdown, hit that subscribe button. I want to help you build a life that no one can tear down. I will see you in the next video.